radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network.
All right. Good evening, everybody. How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? Today's Thursday, January 29th, 2026. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. Let's do this, man. Yeah, you know what they say, the show must go on. The show must go on. All of you are here. We're going to do a show. That's right. L.A. Marzulli's got some technical issues tonight. Couldn't get them worked out. So, hey, that's it. You guys are here. Let's do an AMA. We haven't done an AMA. We do them once a month. We haven't done one in probably over a month. Oh, no. L.A. is here. L.A., wave. Wait, everything good? Okay, we're going to do this without, okay, all right. LA, just stay, look at the size of that coffee cup. My goodness. All right, LA, stay right there. So we do have LA. Yeah. All right. This week on Fade to Black, Monday night, Richard Beckwith was here. He's an attorney. We talked about secret UFO programs. Tuesday night, Alexander Cheskowitz, live from Poland, Lost Worlds. Last night, Dustin Perry, TV show host. That's right, Ghost Hunters International, and Destination Fear, all that stuff. It was a great conversation last night about ghosts and real-world hauntings. Tonight, L.A. Marzulli joins us. I've been talking about L.A. all week. I mean, what's left to be said, right? I've been talking about him all week. He is absolutely amazing. My next event coming up is the Conscious Life Expo, February 20th through the 23rd, 2026 at the LAX Hilton. Yeah, it's coming up in 3 short weeks. I'll see everybody there. The links, the schedule. It's a big event. Everything that you need is in the description box below. I've been hosting this event now for over 10 years. So come and hang out with us. And yeah, it's an absolutely amazing event. I've got a full schedule all year. Everything that I'm doing is in the description box below, and of course in the commercials and everything that we do around here. So with that, let's get things started. Tonight, author, researcher L.A. Marzulli is going to be here. We're going to talk about, tonight's going to be an open conversation. Well, it's always that way with L.A. Where it starts, it's going to start. Where it's going to end, it's going to end. I'm here to pick his brain. I want to learn. And LA is the teacher. Yeah. So his links are below for his website. And I just want to jump straight into it and bring him in. If you want to read LA's full bio and everything, it's right below. But let's just get straight to it. And I'm going to say, hello, sir. Good evening.
Hey, man. Good to see you, Jimmy. How are you?
It's good to see you, my brother. It's so good to see you. You know what? I've said this to you so many times over the years, but a couple of nights ago on the show, I got all mushy about LA. And I was like, man, you guys got to understand that when I first bumped into LA, which I know, it's 2 decades ago now.
Yes.
Where'd the time go? And I'm like, this is my guy. He's got the right attitude, the right thing, tenacious but kind, but he's out there just trying to figure this stuff out. And I have been following you ever since. And I don't say those things often about too many people, LA. I've said it to you many times, but just thank you as we get started here. Thank you for your contributions to humanity, the world, and our community. You've been getting at it for such a long time. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, and thank you for the kudos and the kind words. I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I almost want to go, okay, how were the holidays? Everything good? Oh man. Since I don't know if no, you've been on the show. I'm now in Palmdale.
Oh, okay.
I moved to Palmdale, left Burbank. I'm out here because I wanted to be next to Skunk Works, right? So, and it's right down the street, man. You need to,
there it is, right?
yeah, we're neighbors. You need to come out here and we'll go out in the backyard and watch the crazy stuff get tests flown. It's pretty wild. It's pretty wild. But you're still in Malibu?
Still in Malibu. We got burned out in the 2018
Of course.
fire. We rebuilt, and it's been 6 years since we've been back in my new house. So it all worked out.
Does it? I'm just gonna. I have to ask. Does it feel different? The house? Does it feel the same? Do you think about the old house, or is it something that you just move on from?
Well, I designed the house and built it. I was the general contractor on it, so I was hands-on. I built all the doors. I did all the cabinets, ran the construction stuff, and again, I was the architect. I drew the thing up. It's a gigacrete house, so it's basically fireproof.
I bet it is.
Oh, yeah. It's got a metal roof, fireproof, and then everything's all wrapped in this stuff called gigacrete. Windows are, fire resist. I mean, the whole deal. But it's we really don't look back. I mean, it's better now than it's ever been.
Sure.
What we had before was one thing. It's a completely different deal. So it's all good.
I will never forget that night, and you were on my mind from Burbank, where the fire started, right up in Sylmar. So from our backyard, and it was close to us, right?
Yeah,
but the wind as we're watching it, to our right, to the north, we watched it in minutes. Now we've all been through fire. We all have. We do it every year. It's what we do here. It's sport. But I'd never seen anything move like that. And we watched it go all the way down, right? And then across over Calabasas from Burbank, you could see it, right? And then move up and into the hills. And it did that in like 30 minutes.
Yeah, it was crazy.
It was nuts. And reached you guys over there. And the rest we don't need to talk about. But I'm just glad that everything is just good for you guys up there.
Yeah, all good. It all worked out for the better, actually. So
yeah, absolutely. Now here's where I want to start tonight. Strange subject for you, Peru, right? Megalithic. I've been to Peru now 4 times. I'm going 2 more times this year. I'm going in a couple of months, and then in November I'm going back, and then going to Easter Island as well. That's a bucket list. Have you been to Easter Island?
No, it's on the bucket list. I wanted to go there. I mean, if I go there, I want to spend like 2 or 3 weeks. I just don't want to pop in and pop out.
Yeah, we're gonna do 7 days there.
There you go.
Yeah, so that's almost, you know what I mean? 2 weeks is a better number, but 7 days allows you to, really, start to get your hands dirty a little bit.
Yeah, no, I get it.
I'm so looking forward to it. How many times can you watch Chariots of the Gods and dream about this stuff, right? And then to actually go. But Peru, and I've been to Egypt a few times. And the statements that I make about Peru now, because people do this to you too, the drill. So, man, what do you like better? right? Is it Peru or Egypt? And I never thought I would say this, but Peru blows my mind. All of it. Is it the same thing for you? Is it the gift that keeps on giving?
Well, I've never been to Egypt. I mean, I've studied the pyramids forever, since I was a teenager. I won't go to Egypt for other reasons, but Peru is absolutely an astounding place. And there's still sites there that have never really been excavated. People have never really looked at them. I mean, I'll give you one example. And thank you, Brian Forrester and Senior Juan. Senior Juan is no longer with us. He passed away a few years ago. But they took us, Senior Juan and Senior Salvador, who was a Huacaro, grave, he was also a pastor. So anyway, so they took us to this one place, and it was one of the strangest places I'd ever been. And it was a mass grave in different, probably four or five of them. And there was no funerary objects, blunt force trauma to the right side of, or to the left side of the skull. So a guy with a war club is just braining people. It's on a high place, and they were all just jumbled together. They all had elongated skulls. And I actually had a forensic anthropologist lined up to come down and look at this. And he chickened out at the last minute. And then when I got back down there, the highway was being enlarged and came through. And that place with the graveyard had been staked out. Someone bought it. And for all I know, all that's been cleared away. And see, that's the problem. It took us 3 years to get permits to go down and extract DNA.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's absurd because, and then when we revealed the DNA that we did, Madhu Gonzalez and I, it's contaminated. Excuse me, no, it's not. It wasn't contaminated. Our protocols were above board, and it's all in the film. But nobody cares, and the Peruvian government, they make this big deal about, archaeology and this and that. Meanwhile, the Vaqueros are in there grave robbing every single night, taking stuff, selling artifacts on the black market. It's a joke. It's just, it's like the daycare centers in Minneapolis.
And the point that you're making, and until you are able to go and experience it, go to Peru or get out of the country and go see some of this stuff, to understand wherever you go in Peru, if you want to see something crazy and old, just turn your head.
Yeah, it's pretty much it. Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah.
You can't imagine it. You can't until you go down there and you experience it. It's just like, you're wherever, and then you just kind of look and oh, what's that? Right? It's like,
that's a 2,000-year-old pyramid, or whatever.
Yes. One time we were down there. Anyway, we'll expand on this, but we're down there with Brian on a bus, and we're like in Asia, Asia, that section of the country on the beach. And so we're driving through there, and I'm looking at these hills, and I go, Brian, and he goes, they're pyramids, Jimmy. Just like that, and we're just driving. It just happened to catch my eye, and they're massive. But it's like that. I just happened to look in that direction on the bus.
When we went down to the first time, and I had contacted Brian, I saw a YouTube video, and I said, this is my wheelhouse. We want to come down, look at the elongated skulls. So Brian took us to the Chongos necropolis. I had been there since, I don't know, a dozen times, maybe more, something like that. And I have been down there since 2019 was the last time I was down there, I think. And so, then COVID hit, and then, we've been kind of, anyway, so Brian takes us to Chongos. He doesn't really tell us too much, which is great, because he left it up to each individual to explore it on their own. I remember walking up there and seeing him as part of a pyramid, and I'm looking down and going, what the heck is all this stuff? And I go down on my hands and knees, and I take a scoop, and there's potsherds and pieces of bone and mummy wrappings. And I realize, oh my gosh, we're in this like ancient necropolis. And last time I was, well, not the last time, but one of the last times, Brian and I and several other people were walking out of Chongos, and I go, what the heck is that? And I go running up to it, and it was an elongated skull that was on the road. And then Brian hightailed it up to and found two more recently. So the Vaqueros got spooked. Something happened. They got spooked, and they left. The grave robbers they left. And there's a picture of me holding an elongated skull, and Brian, the same thing. And Senior Juan, they were in his museum. Senior Juan passed away, and who knows where any of these artifacts go. So there's also the idea that there's stuff that's on these sites, in these sites, with these. This is a model, by the way. Late Joe Taylor did that. It's called the cinnamon skull. And there's attachments. And when I went down there for the first time, I was oppressed for about 3 years, on and off, because hitchhikers came back. And that's what people don't get. This stuff is it's not for the faint of heart. You got to pray up like crazy, and be careful where you go and what you touch, and don't take a stinking thing back with you. But we didn't know that at the time, so I learned the hard way.
Did you run around with Wilco, the shaman? No. Okay. He's amazing. Wilco's amazing. But when we go to these sites, and he speaks Quechua, right? He's from old school, and he's got the.
Is that the guy down in the Nazca lines? Is that where he is?
No, he lives in Cusco.
Okay, no, I don't know who he is.
He lives in Cusco. I know the person you're talking about too as well. Anyway, about Wilco, man, every site that we go to, cleansed. I mean, he's just like, man, just, and we always hold back. And he goes in and does his thing, and it's so important to be respectful.
Yeah, it is.
I haven't been around a disrespectful crew, right? Well, part of it is we have a really good camp counselor, Brian Forrester, who loves that country and its traditions. So you're not going to step out of line, right? You're just not going to do it. But having Wilco there, because there has been a few times where that has happened, what you're talking about, you feel the spiritual energy. It's not talk. It's a real thing. And when you experience it, it's absolutely incredible. It's a very, very special spiritual country. I can't put enough. Do you have a favorite site? I want to get into ancient history here in a second. Do you have a favorite site down there?
Well, I mean, Sacsayhuaman is just breathtaking. And when Brian took us there the first time, I've led 2 tours there myself. And when I'm there with a group of people, and I took them the same way Brian took us, which is kind of the back entrance. So you're on the hill looking down at it, and then you come down, which was really fantastic. Bully for Brian for doing that. Brian's a great tour guide. And when I'm leading a tour there, and I haven't done it in years, like I said, 2019, I think is the last time I was down there. And I have people come up to the Sacsayhuaman wall, and I lecture for a few minutes. And then I go, when you touch this wall, in my opinion, you are touching the fingerprints of the supernatural. Human beings did not do this.
No way.
And the entities that did do it left, and they have not been back since. And people have different paradigms, it's very intense. Sacsayhuaman is a very intense place.
Yes,
very
it is. You can't be prepared for that. You look at the pictures, you see the videos, you hear about it. Okay, all right. No. You walk up on that for the first time.
Yeah, it's mind blowing.
Oh man, I want to use bad words, but I'm with you, LA. But you do say WTF, right? You're just like, what? It's
mind boggling. And we actually showed in one of our films, and I show it when I'm lecturing. We have a guy that sent me this clip, and he's over in Europe, and he's got a block of andesite stone. So it's just this little block of andesite. So Sacsayhuaman is built of andesite stone. So a little block, andesite stone. And he shows the block of andesite. Then he has a brand new copper chisel. Okay? And he shows the point of the chisel, brings it right up to the camera like this. There's the point of the chisel. He does this one time, puts the chisel on the block, hits it one time. He shows the chisel. The end of the chisel is blunt.
It's round.
So the deal is, if you can't cut andesite stone with the copper chisel, stop lying to us. Stop training your goofy docents who tell us that Inca were master stone builders when they weren't. Inca had nothing to do with this. This is why the byline that I have is there is a hidden history that's been deliberately obfuscated from the peoples of the world. And that's why I'm on the trail of the Nephilim.
Now, it's like for me, one of the points that I constantly want people to get this on the front part of their brain. All right. I don't want this to be forgotten or for us to let the pressure off. But there is no reason to keep our history from us. It's a right. It's a right. It's us. It's us. You can't tell me I'm not supposed to know about my grandfather or anybody else. That's it. And when we're talking about these subjects, clearly they are keeping stuff from us. And it's, I don't want to be like the conspiracy guy on late night radio. Oh, wait, I am. Okay. So, you know what I mean? Well, I'll be that guy. I don't get it. There is just when you walk around and you see what you were just pointing out, the megalithic, where you can see where the Inca came in and did their thing. Great. Right. But they did it on top of stuff that they did that was waiting for them when they got there. And Peru's not the only example of this.
It's everywhere, Jimmy. It's everywhere.
Yeah, it's everywhere. So let's get to the meat of the matter. Who do you think is responsible? We'll stay with Peru, but you can kind of apply the same thing globally. But who was there? Who was there? Pumapunku, Tiwanaku, the top of Machu Picchu, Ollantay Tambo, right? Yeah. Who was it? My man. What do you? Okay. So remember, people are going to listen to this, and they're not going to have the visual cue.
This is the scientists that broke the internet with and they were on my show. I interviewed them. So this is the pyramid in Giza, one of the pyramids, the Khafre pyramid, and they flew the satellites over the Giza plateau numerous times. Came back with the same data. They've triple checked it. There are these columns that go down 2,100 feet below the pyramid, 2,100 feet over that. Okay, no one knows what this is, and of course, Sally Hawass gets up and screams and yells and calls them every name in the book. Excuse me, let's just get some archaeologists in here and dig and see if we can find one. Because if we find one, it rewrites history. Jimmy, there was a grid over the pyramid, over the earth, and this goes back thousands of years. Once again, I'm holding up this model that my webmaster made for me, and it's on my desk all the time. And places like Sacsayhuaman and Ollantaytambo and other places, something cataclysmic happened. The question is, what cataclysm? And it's the Younger Dreyfus. I mean, they all talk about this global flood that hit and wiped everything out, except, and it's in the biblical prophetic narrative. We read Noah and the 8 people on the ark, but it's in every culture on the planet. If we're millions and millions and millions of years old, like we're told, which I think is absolute nonsense, then where's the vestiges of all this? And why hasn't the population exploded? So if the Younger Dreyfus is true, it only pushes the thing back to 10 to 12,000 years ago. That's a drop in the bucket. And that's exactly what we see. We see civilizations start and slowly expand, really from the Fertile Crescent and expand outwards. They got that part right. But then it's like isolated places, like China develops on its own with really little or no contact with, let's say, the Middle East. And Europe is just, fields and woods. I mean, that's all it is. And so what you get this progression of history. And as a biblical literalist, the reason why this is kept under the wraps, there's 2 reasons. Darwinism, and if you're a Darwinist, there is no supernatural, there is no God, there are no ultimate rights or wrongs. There is no truth as we know it. There's only mindless evolution. So there's no prophecy, there's no supernatural. People don't rise from the dead. There is no afterlife. There's just nothing but mindless evolution. And that is sacrosanct in the global the global belief in academia and the scientific community. Everything runs on Darwinism. Now, there are people who don't believe that, but they are embedded in academia and in the scientific community. They just keep their mouth shut because that's how everything runs. When you go to the Field Museum in Ohio, I have a picture of it I could show you. There's this huge mural. It's like maybe 20 feet by 10 feet, and it shows all these different forms of life. And the quote from Darwin is, "From so simple the beginnings." Let me just actually, because I know most people won't be able to see this, which is unfortunate, but at least I can show you, to what I'm, trying to show you here. It never ceases to amaze me. Whenever I'm trying to find something, it's like,
Of course.
McFly, but it's here, and it's really worth looking at because it just explains really everything. The Field Museum. Here it is, right there. Boom.
Let me pull this up. Hold on. Let me make you bigger. Okay, there it is. Oh yeah. Got it.
From so simple a beginning, endless forms, most beautiful and most wonderful have been and are being evolved. That's one of the biggest lies that's ever been perpetrated on the peoples of the world, because Darwin didn't know about DNA and the molecular structure of DNA. And now we know that everything on the planet has a DNA coding to it. Where did that come from? And when Ben Steiner in his groundbreaking film sits down with one of the premier evolutionists of the 20th and 21st centuries and says, well, where did it come from? Where did this start? And Darwin might as well be the same guy, but he has no idea. Richard Dawkins has no idea how it started. The first self-replicating molecule, nobody knows. And the complexity of a DNA molecular structure is such that it's a code. It's a code. And now we know that when you take two hummingbirds and you mate them ad infinitum under normal circumstances, you're not going to get a humpback whale, pal, and you're not going to get a new species. You're going to get a hummingbird because of a DNA code. So all that is still overlooked. And it begs the question, where did the code come from? And that's where we get the two different worldviews that are being promulgated. The overwhelming worldview, the leader is the ancient astronaut theorists, that we were seeded here by an advanced race of extraterrestrials. That is promulgated to the cows come home. To the cows come home. That we've heard this over and over and over and over again. That's one paradigm. The other paradigm is the biblical prophetic narrative. The biblical narrative is that a creator God, and not some extraterrestrial God, the God, created all life as we see it, the universe.
And can it be both? No, not Dawkins' version. I used to rag on Dawkins a lot because he just made me right. Okay. So anyway, I used to rag on him. I don't rag on anybody anymore. But here's the problem with Dawkins. He doesn't have answers.
He doesn't. No answers. Or
no, he doesn't have answers. So how? Well, I don't know, but it happened that way. What do you mean? Well, lightning just hit a crystal in a there
you go.
Right. And that's his thing. And I don't, even though I don't have the answers, the answer is not his. I don't know. So the reason why I say, could it be both? Could an intelligence guide those asteroids here for panspermia? You know what I mean? And spread life that way. From an intelligent design standpoint.
Well, I mean, and I get that, and that's what people who espouse that, they tenaciously hold on to it, because there's two things. When a person begins to study the biblical prophetic narrative, and they're hit with prophecy, and that means that someone is outside space-time as we know it, and They call out with great specificity events in the future, and then those events happen. And that immediately begs the question, well, how is that even possible? How is this, whoever this is, somehow can see through space-time as we know it and call out these events with great clarity. That's not Nostradamus, fuzzy quatrains. This is like boom. And when we start examining the biblical prophetic narrative, we realize that it's the only book on the planet that has a thread of prophecy from Genesis to Revelation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking religion here. I'm not talking religion or monks with funny haircuts or stained glass windows. I'm not talking that. These are all the trappings of men and mankind. What it is the Most High God, El Shaddai, speaks everything into existence. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. The Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. All things were created by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. So when Jesus is here and he comes up against a man who was blind, according to the gospel tradition, no eyes, born blind, right? And he lays his hands on him, and all of a sudden the guy has eyes. How is that even possible? How is it possible? But then there's other incredible things. When he's on the Sea of Galilee and the storm comes up, and he just says 2 words, be still. That's it. And the storm just doesn't dissipate slowly. It's just like a dish rag. Boom. It just dead stops. And then it says, and instantly they found themselves at their destination. That is you're going from one place to another. That's by location. He just jumped through space and time as we know it, because that's what he does. And so we have a whole film on the Shroud of Turin, which to me is, I call it God's calling card. And, people can say, oh, it's a fake and it's been proven a fake. No, it hasn't. It's never been proven a fake. That's all fake news is what that is. And people need to do their homework. So when you look at this is what it looked like. If you look at the shroud with a naked eye, this is what you see. Okay? Main image of a man. 1898, Secunda Pia takes the first photograph of it. You're trying to tell me a medieval hoaxer would somehow know that photography is going to be invented? So he creates this, knowing that someone's going to invent a camera, and then they'll see this. How is this even made? Look at the scourge marks. Look at the scourge marks. I mean, he's whipped within a half an inch of his life. It's a helmet of thorns that you see. Look at where the nail prints come in, the back of the hands. Medieval art always shows it here. It's not there because it wouldn't hold the person. I call it God's calling card. And it's a burst of energy resurrected the God-man, fully God, fully man. And this is the prototype of the new human being. And, he's on earth for like a bunch of days afterwards. Hundreds and hundreds of people see him. All sorts of crazy stuff happens. And he's coming back soon because all the prophecies talk about the time of the end, where it'll be like the days of Noah, the return of the Nephilim, the backbreeding, the breeding program of hybrid beings, which we have a whole film on that, where women are being taken, they're being abducted, UFO stuff right behind me. UFO
How does
stuff.
that fit? Let me.
Yeah.
Real quick. I'm going to ask this. I'm going to share something with you, and it's a gift. Okay, you ready? Who is the most spiritual person in the world? Say, I don't know.
I don't have a clue.
Richard Dawkins, when the plane is going down. There it is. It's a gift. You can use it. It's yours. It's yours. It's yours. It's yours. It's yours. How does I wrote that, but that's mine. It's now yours. It's a gift. How does a hybrid program or any of that fit into Christianity?
Okay.
Or how does that fit into a sermon on Sunday?
Well, it doesn't. And that's part of the problem with the churches, because they're not dealing with reality. Many of them. Since I've gone, I do a daily show like you do, but 7 days a week, not 5. And we've opened the doors to pastors who want to know more about this. We'll send you resources. We'll send you all 10 films that my business partner and I, Gil Zimmerman, have created on the UFO phenomena. We'll send you the book, Rungs of Disclosure, which talks about, the first rung is 2017 with Commander David Fravor and Tucker Carlson. Whatever I saw was not from this earth. So Daniel is a guy who's living in Babylon a couple thousand years ago, actually more than that. And this angel appears to him, a heavenly messenger appears to him, and he begins to talk to Daniel, and he goes, hey, seal up the words in the book, Daniel. In other words, write all this down, but it's going to be sealed up until the time of the end. And then he tells us this is what the time of the end is going to look like. Men and women will run to and fro over the face of the earth, which is right now as we speak, planes are running to and fro over the face of the earth, flying all over the earth. Knowledge will increase. We both know that knowledge increases exponentially, constantly. It's just like piling up. And now with the advent of AI, it's beyond the pale. So Jesus warns us it'll be like the days of Noah. Why would he say that 2,000 years ago? And he says something that's, remember, when he's saying this, there is no New Testament, there is no Christianity, there's just Judaism. He's in Jerusalem, and he goes, when I return, it'll be like the days of Noah, which immediately just kind of goes, what do you mean? Where are you going? When are you returning? They all know what the days of Noah is, because the bones of the Nephilim, the giants, are openly on display in Jerusalem 2,000 years ago. So when you would go to Jerusalem to go to temple, guaranteed, in my, this is conjecture, you'd go by where the bones were on display. And your father would go, hey, Saul, take a look over there. That's what your great-great-great-great-great-grandfather conquered. Those giants were in the land. Those are the remnants of the Nephilim, the bones of the Nephilim. So everyone knows what he's talking about. He says they'll be like the days of Noah when he returns. What differentiates the days of Noah? Again, 2,000 years ago, when Jesus says this, there's no equivocation. There's no opinions. Everyone knows exactly what he's talking about. Fallen angels come down. They take the women. They cohabit with the women. It's plural. They're taking wives, and they're creating offspring. And the offspring are the Nephilim. That elongated skull, in my opinion, is a remnant of one of the Nephilim tribe. It's not a giant.
Okay, so check this out. There is a papyrus in the Berlin Museum. It's 4,500 years old, from Senefru, the pharaoh, right? Fourth dynasty. Right. And that papyrus tells a story. And now I'm gonna give you the short version of this thing. And maybe you've heard it, but the audience hasn't. I've never talked about this. But anyway, he's bored, right? His vice president, right, comes in and goes, hey man, go take a break. Get the girls together from your court and have them take you on a boat ride. So he says, you know what? All right. Literally, that's what it says in the papyrus. So he gets on this boat. The women are rowing, and he goes out into the Nile. One of the women looks into the water, and her necklace falls off. And it says in the papyrus, it's a turquoise pendant, which is, very special in Egypt, turquoise. So anyway, and she starts crying, and Senefru goes, what's wrong? My necklace fell into the water. And he goes, I'll get you another one. I'm the pharaoh, right? I'll get you another one. She goes, no, I want that one. He goes, okay, stop the boat. And he stopped the boat. He calls a magician over, and he says, get her pendant. The magician, and that's what the papyrus calls him, a magician, whatever, parts the Nile and exposes the necklace on a rock. Senefru crawls out of the boat, grabs the necklace, gets back in the boat, gives it to her. She stops crying. Now, that was for 2650 BC when that took place. You know what I mean? And now I go and I read, people don't see what I see in that. What I see is it most people say, oh, it's imagination. Wow, it's imagination that's 5,000 years old. Where does this come from? Unless, maybe it happened. And what's the term, magician? What does that actually mean? Right? All of these things come into play. but it was important enough to write it down and preserve it. Isn't that fascinating? I mean, it stopped me in my tracks.
No, it is. And what people don't realize, when Moses and Aaron show up in Pharaoh's court, it's a full-blown occult paradigm, which ties into what you're saying. Because when Moses takes his staff and throws it down, it becomes a serpent. And the Egyptian magicians do exactly the same thing. Their staffs become serpents also, except that Moses' staff swallows up all the other serpents. How is that possible? And then they take the staff and there it is. So there's 10 plagues, and these plagues are to show who the real God is, because every single plague he goes after, the Most High God, El Shaddai, goes after the false gods. They have power in Egypt. You got to remember that what you're looking at is a battle between the Most High God and these fallen angels, which have set up shop in Egypt. So all this is real. It's all happening. When you read the Old Testament, when you read Moses and going in and the plagues and all this stuff, no one's running out of the room. Pharaoh's magicians already they duplicate the first 3 plagues, and then they go, well, we can't duplicate it anymore. And they actually say, this is the real God. We don't know what to do. And then the rest of it continues in the story. And there's a reason for it, Jimmy, because what I wrote about this in the book, The Cosmic Chess Match. What people don't understand is there's the rules of this heavenly engagement, the protocols between the Most High God and the fallen cherub, i.e. the dragon, i.e. Satan. There's a war, and that war has continued even right till now, right to this very second, from thousands of years ago. And it has shaped mankind, absolutely shaped mankind in ways that are just, it's a 3-hour conversation.
What's a Bible literalist?
Well, a literalist is someone who believes when it says, and Moses parted the Red Sea, that's not allegory. Moses parted the Red Sea. That's how that worked. The Egyptians could probably do it too, as relating to the story that you told. So when Jesus walks on the water, that's not allegory. He walks on the water. He's breaking the rules of our space-time continuum as we know them. He's just suspending them because he's fully God and fully man. That's what he does.
I just watched a video of some Olympic swimmers, right? Big Olympic pool. They're getting ready. They're all set and they're going to go. And Jesus steps up. He's one of the swimmers. It's a great video. Have you seen the video?
No, I haven't. That sounds great.
All the swimmers dive, right? And Jesus runs across the water.
There you go. That's great.
He runs to the other. I got to tell you, it's the funniest thing ever. And he gets to the other side. I won. Tremendous. Is there? I depend, I've always said this to you, I'm repeating myself. I depend on you for biblical knowledge. Okay? All right? I've read the Bible twice. No, I didn't walk away some scholar voice of religion, but I did do it. I did it because I thought it was kind of trending. It was fashionable back in the early 80s to go and read the Bible, but I wanted to have a foundation so I could at least engage in a conversation somewhat. But I came away from that wondering, now this is the question, is there leeway? You just brought up allegory, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Is there a certain degrees of tolerance to waver? I watch these videos of these Christian talk shows. I do. I watch them all the time on YouTube, and watching these guys sit around a table and debate things and take questions and go at it. There's no leeway with those cats, right? That stuff is just, and to you, is there leeway, or do you have to be very narrow?
Well, it's not a question of being narrow. It's understanding where we are and the protocols of the heavenly war. There's just certain things that, when you say leeway, I mean, well, certain things are written and they're etched in stone. Prophecy, there's no leeway there. There's no.
Okay, well, let's take Genesis, page 1,
Okay.
right?
All right.
Page 1, page 2, page 3. that first, when you first crack the Bible, it literally says on the first day. So do we take that literally like what our day is, a 24-hour period, right? It's now Monday and here we go. Or is it something else? Is there leeway there?
Well, here's the deal. You can sit down with a bunch of theologians and you're going to get a lot of different answers. Some people believe it's absolutely literal. This is the first day. It's a 24-hour period. This is what it is. Other people go, no, not so fast. We're not sure what it is. So things like that are open to interpretation. And this is why this is problematic in some sense, because we really don't know. So it says, day 1. I believe it's a 24-hour period. I believe he's creating things very quickly, but it's a recreation. Now, see right there, some people would disagree. No, it's not a recreation. It's a creation of the first kind. No, something happened in the far distant past. There was a rebellion with the dragon and his angels, and they rebelled against the Most High God. And the earth is the battlefield, and it's destroyed. And then there's a recreation of that. Now, some people would take umbrage with that and say, well, you're reading into that, that this is all very new and very young. It's not a recreation. So, you've got problems within Scripture because of interpretation. I am an old earth guy. I believe this thing goes way, 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 way back. We're very new. We're very new on the scene. 12,000 years goes right back to the Younger Dreyfus thing again, right? Right.
Younger Dryas. Okay. So today and yesterday, Renee, and she's amazing. She is my news producer and does my writing for me. She's incredible. I only do the news when I do the news live earlier in the day. I don't do politics or religion in the news. So, but she digs up really cool stuff that I just find it interesting. Right? Okay. So two days in a row. Check this out. All right, I'll just give you today's news. In southern Greece, they have found 2 wooden tools, 600,000 years old. And 600, let me say that again, right? Obviously, not Homo sapiens, because Homo sapiens weren't around. If we go with the orthodox view on things, right? Okay. Now, wait a minute here. That is interesting. And so when we talk about these timelines going back, and nobody wants to, you know what I mean? They don't want to discuss it because it messes with their worldview. But this is twice now in 2 days that this has happened, where both discoveries, 2 different countries, one in China and one in Greece, they both said it wasn't us. Now, what do you make of that? And is that exactly what you've been yelling from the rooftops for so long? But here we go. Science is now starting to confirm what some of these alternate views have been saying for so long.
Well, again, we don't. When you look at Sacsayhuaman, circling back to Peru, because we've been talking about that, when was that built? Who did it and when was it built? And really, because you can't C14, carbon-14 rock, you can't do that. No one really knows. It's here. The Inca didn't do it. The Inca even says, Tim Alberino showed me that, where when the conquistadors came in and they talked to the Inca stated right openly, it was here when we got here. We don't know who built it. And we hear that same thing being echoed here in the United States. When the first white settlers pushed into Ohio and they examined the mounds that were there, the Octagon Mound, the Circle Mound. We have a film that I'm working on right now, should be out this year, talking about all that. The Native Americans who were there, the Shawnee, we don't know. It was here when we got here. We just came in and it was here. We don't know who built it. And this is what we hear this, that phrase is echoed on a global level. So once again, our history has been, our origins are obfuscated. We don't really know. And this is where it gets into, orthodoxy. You talk about, you were just referencing that. Is there any wiggle room or leeway? You sit down with some theologians and you can talk about, where did Cain get his wife from? Well, the standard answer is Adam and Eve had many children and Cain married his sister before they messed with the genetic pool. Okay, I get that. Fine. But what if there's something else here? What if this thing goes back? What if we don't know what it is we're looking at? And in some theological circles, that's heretical. I mean, burn the guy at the stake for even thinking about that. But we don't know. We don't know our origins. I mean, we don't. We either believe in the beginning was the Word and the Word was God and He created everything, all things were made by Him. We either believe that or we start groping for answers. So I'm a literalist. I believe that He spoke it into existence. The question is, when did He do it? And was
right. Well, isn't this?
Let me finish.
Oh, I'm sorry. LA, I'm so sorry.
Was there something before
right.
he spoke it? And that's what we don't know. And that's hidden from us. Let me just one more thing. When you go to Göbekli Tepe, go to Göbekli Tepe, right? And the whole thing is covered up. It's hidden. Why? Was that deliberate? And if so, why? Why did they cover it up? When you go to America Stonehenge, and that's in New Hampshire, and you go there, and in the 50s, 60s, everything was covered up. The May 1st standing stone was toppled down. The Chamber of Ruins was collapsed. Was that deliberate? The sacrificial altar was buried. The oracle tube in the hidden chamber that goes underneath the sacrificial slab had 2 round stones on each end plugging it up. Did someone close that site down? Did someone, when you go to Corral down, I'm sure you've been there if you've been with Brian, you go to Corral in Peru, the most ancient city in all the Americas, at least 5,000 years old, and some people push it back another 1,000 years. Pyramids coming up from no pre-existing culture. They just appear, poof, they're there. And then it all goes away. Why does it all go away? Why is it that we don't know and we get the same old goofy thing, they assimilated into the indigenous population due to climate change? You don't know that. You're just making it up. You don't know what happened to these people.
No, you don't.
So there's something, and it's global. There's something very mysterious going on. Very mysterious.
Okay, so I just pulled up the article. This is what I said: 600,000, 430,000-year-old wooden handheld tools from Greece are the oldest on record, and they predate modern humans. The 2 tools found in southern Greece were created by an unidentified hominid species. It's 430,000 years old. Now, that is in direct contrast with so many Christians and the time of creation, 6,000 years. Well, this technically shouldn't exist. So now which way, and let's talk about the Big Bang, right? 13.8 billion years ago. Well, that's not, so where do we go with that? Where does your head go with the Bible and what other people they've worked on that math for a long time to come up with these, the creation number 6,000 years ago.
Well, certain people, again, I go back, to the Younger Dryas because that's something very cataclysmic, and it's only 10, 12,000 years ago.
That's
so
right.
6,000, 10 or 12,000, not much difference, folks. Really isn't. I don't hold tenaciously to the 6,000-year-old paradigm. I just don't. I think it goes back further, and the Younger Dryas even, it bolsters that idea that there was a global flood. So, look, the bottom line is, and I'll say it again, and I'm not trying to dodge the question, we don't know our origins. I would have to look at the data, how they determined that these artifacts that they found were 600,000 years old or whatever. We need to know, how do we know that? Was this C14, C15? I mean, who did the testing? What lab? You have to look at the data because there's an agenda here. And the agenda is always to push it back further and further and further to allow for the evolutionary process. That's part of the agenda. That is part of the agenda. Because if it happened very quickly, it doesn't give the evolutionary process time to happen.
Oh, for sure. For
Right.
sure.
So
this
that's
is where this is where you and I are on the same page. Well, we're on the same page on a lot of things. But here is what Darwin was wrong. All right. Now, it was a good book for the time. You saw a tortoise on an island and bird beaks and right. No, hey, it's a good book. It's a good book. Bestseller. But anyway, if you take him literally, where you're talking about tens of millions of years of evolution for things to happen, right? Okay. And then there's us. And we, quite fantastically so, just appeared. I don't care what anybody says. There is nothing. We humans are perfect, right? Homo sapien, flat forehead, the cheekbones, the skin, the fat, the no hair, the physique, the thing, the beautiful face, men and women, right? And then look at Neanderthal and Cro-Magnon at the same time, and look at what's going on there. And we just, beep, right? Homo erectus is not us. We just appeared without the 10 million years of evolution that Darwin talks about. Right. Now, somebody needs to explain that to me like I'm 5 years old. Well, I don't have a way to go ahead.
It says that the Lord God, saw the earth and then created man from the dust of the earth. He fashioned us. You can either believe that or you can believe the fallacy of Darwinism that somehow, the eyeball, I mean, everything's got an eye that links to the brain and we can see what? Language? No one even knows how any of this stuff works. Nobody does. They're all clueless. Where is my consciousness? Where is Jimmy Church right now? You're in your body. I get that. But that's not who you are. That's not who you are. Where is Jimmy Church? Nobody knows. Where is L.A. Marzulli? I'm in this shell, but where does my consciousness reside? I'm not this little guy in my brain going, hi. No one knows. No one knows what consciousness is or where it resides or how it interfaces with our bodies. Nobody knows.
There was a paper that was published 2 months ago. I've talked about it a lot. I don't have the specifics in front of me, who and when and what and why, but it was published in the journal Nature. Are you ready? A materials scientist, the most pragmatic black and white version of science, right? A materials scientist published this paper, looked at the data going back throughout history as best she could. And she concluded, this is published. You ready? Consciousness is first. Consciousness is the foundation. Then comes matter, time, and space. Now, of course, you and I in our community, we always knew that. But science has always had the position that consciousness arises from a chemical process, right? And that's it. It's not a big deal. They can't explain it, but that's their position. No, and she has come out and said, no, consciousness is everywhere. It's first. And I'm wondering, do you think that this could be some kind of turning point in physics and science where finally we can start to look at consciousness like it should be, that it just is and everything else is after?
Well, I mean, again, we live in a mystery. We really do. We live in a mystery. And, as we progress, you get papers from this woman, like from this one scientist who posits that consciousness came first and then the rest. Well, in some ways, I'm going to quote scripture. You tell me if this doesn't dovetail into what you just stated. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. All things were created by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. I mean, doesn't that sort of dovetail into what she's saying? In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and he spoke everything into existence. I mean, and I get this. This is why, you've got this one character in all of history, Jesus, Yeshua, and all these religions. Well, one religion, Christianity, but then it fractures into all these different things, and I get that. And you've got a lot of ritual and a lot of nonsense that goes with it, which has nothing to do with what it's about. It's about someone receiving the Spirit of a living God into them, and then everything changes. Because when our spirit touches his spirit, everything changes. There's that consciousness thing. Then our consciousness expands, and we begin to see things completely differently through his lens. And that's when scripture begins to open up, and the world of prophecy begins to open up. So we live in a mystery, and yet we get little glimpses of things, along the way. We get, like, I call them like supernatural bones, but prophecy is one of those things. And there's that prophetic lens that I see everything in the scripture. And of course, I'm looking at what's happening globally right now, and everything ties back into the prophetic timeline. If you understand it and you spend the time to examine it and see what's there, most people don't. Even if you read the Bible twice, unless you understand prophecy and how it dovetails. And this is something else, that these writers oftentimes live 1,000 years apart from each other. There's no collusion, and yet the prophecy goes right down the line like this. So somebody's outside space-time, as we know it, and is writing these things a priori before they ever happen. And that's why. Look, we're in a period of time right now where many of these ancient prophetic texts are coming to fruition. They are actually coming about as we speak, which is, in my opinion, really profound. I think we're racing towards a climax, racing towards a peak, towards a climax.
You mentioned America's Stonehenge and Göbekli Tepe, and it reminds me of 2001, A Space Odyssey, Stanley Kubrick. That scene, right? They're in the shuttle. They're going over the moon's surface.
Oh, yeah.
He's looking at the pictures for the first time. He goes, there it is. Oh, interesting. Yes, it was deliberately buried. Deliberately buried. That's his response, right? Like, what the F are you talking about, right? What do you mean deliberately buried? And it's the same moment in the film, the big question that pops up, what are you talking about? That's exactly what comes to mind when I think of Göbekli Tepe and other sites that have been deliberately buried. It's like, what do you mean? What are you trying to say? And there's reasons for it. Stay right there, LA. We've got to take a break. Let's get the break in. We will be back after this. LA Marzulli is our guest. We're talking about us, our ancient history, and so much more. And LA, when we come back, let's do some UFOs. Let's do some UFOs.
I'm all in.
We'll be right back. LA, stay right there. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. Stay with us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to get your alerts and access to over 2,000 videos. Click that subscribe button right now. Go to jimmychurchradio.com and get the Fade to Black official podcast. 2,000 episodes, all of them commercial free for just $2 a month. I am hosting, speaking, and presenting once again for the Conscious Life Expo, the largest conference of its type in the world. February 20th through the 23rd, 2026 at the LAX Hilton. Speakers, event, and schedule easy. Just visit consciouslifeexpo.com. I will be hosting and speaking at the Sedona Ascension Retreat, March 20th through the 22nd, 2026 in Sedona, Arizona. An amazing list of speakers, and it's beautiful Sedona. Come and hang out with us and just go to SedonaAscensionRetreats.com. I'm heading back to the Midwest for the Contact Modalities Expo, May 1st through the 3rd, 2026, in Delavan, Wisconsin, at the Lake Resort. It is beautiful. This is a great conference right in the heart of the Midwest, where I'm from. I'll see you there. Just go to Contact Modalities Expo, that's XPO.com. I will be hosting and presenting once again at Contact in the Desert. That's May 28th through June 1st, 2026, the largest UFO conference in the world. Come and hang out with us June 23rd through July 1st. Tickets and everything else that you need is at contactinthedesert.com. Want to change your life? Want that paradigm shift? And visit Peru with Brian Forrester and myself for the Inca Celebration of the Sun, June 23rd through July 1st, 2026. A full 10 days of visiting the country, all of the amazing sights, and of course, the celebration of the winter solstice. It's all simple to do. Go to hiddenincatours.com. Come join us for the Monty Python Scotland Tour, August 1st through the 9th, 2026. This is a once-in-a-lifetime event where you get to go to the castles from Monty Python and the Holy Grail. August 1st through the 9th, 2026. Just visit HaleyARamsey.com. Watch Into the Vortex on Gaia TV. It's fade to black for the screen. Simple to do. Go to Gaia.com, search Jimmy Church, or click on the link below. Follow Fade to Black on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Get all of the show updates every single day. It's now called X, but who cares? Go to jimmychurchradio.com and become a Fadernaut. Get a membership. That's right. Everything is commercial free. You have access to downloads, and you get to call yourself a Fadernaut.
Jimmy Church, Gaia TV, Fade to Black, here at Machu Picchu with Brian Forrester and Hidden Inca Tours. Amazing tour so far, Brian, but we're here to announce what we're going to do next year in 2026. What's going on?
Okay, November 2026, we're going to have our major tour of Peru and Bolivia, either a pre or post tour of Paracas and Nazca on the coast. And then after that, 6 days in Easter Island.
Bucket list, Easter Island. Come join Brian and I and his amazing team here at Hidden Inca Tours for Peru, Bolivia, and Easter Island. Signing out. Say goodbye, Brian.
Bye, gang.
River Moon Coffee, makers of the Fade to Black blend. Truly the best coffee on planet Earth. Just visit rivermoonwellness.com or their Amazon store. It's all simple to do. You can check out the Fade to Black blend, the Game Changer blend, or any of their Black Moon Wellness products. It's the only coffee I drink. It is the best, and it's Doc. Again, rivermoonwellness.com. All right. Welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, L.A. Marzulli is with us. I was just looking at the chat during the break, and everybody talking about the Monty Python tour and coconuts. I'm just going to tell everybody. I'm working on getting the King Arthur outfit from the movie put together. I mean, I'm not going to go full, but I'm going to get the T-shirt with the sun, and I need to find a crown, maybe some Grail because he wears the Grail. Male Grail, who wears the Grail, wears the male, and I'm pretty excited about it. I'm pretty excited. So I don't know if I'm going to gear up every day on the tour, but it's going to be a lot of fun. We'll take some pictures. I want to do some reenactments too, as well, and maybe a sword fight or two. But yeah, there you go. Okay, our guest tonight is L.A. Marzulli, and L.A. I know I've said this to you before, but I'm going to just for the conversation. 40 years ago, 1984. 42 years ago now. I was a kid. I was 21 years old, doing that Bible read through. And I remember when I finished it, I flipped it over and I immediately started again. And I get about maybe a third of the way through. And I sat up in bed and went, holy crap. It's aliens, right? It's aliens. They're talking about, and I remember putting, and this whole thing just rushed towards me. And I went and started talking to friends about it. They're like, dude, you're out of your mind, man. Just stop with that kind of, I don't know, man. It feels like that. And it was crazy how it just like flooded into me. Now, I made those statements when I was 20 years old. I was a kid. Was I wrong?
Well, let's walk through it. Any entity that does not originate on planet Earth is an alien.
Okay.
In other words, if you're not born on planet Earth and you don't originate from here, you're an alien. So if you have an entity coming in from another dimension, okay, that is an alien. And that's been going on for thousands of years, and the Bible speaks of all that. So you're right in one sense. In another sense, you've got to try to get the whole picture. Yes, they are alien because they don't originate here. But no, they don't originate on other planets. They are interdimensional entities which have the ability to transmutate, manipulate space, time in ways that defy our physics.
So God said, man, I feel like the movie Dogma. I'm about to get struck by lightning. But okay, so God, we were created in his image. So E.T., are they in his image too?
Well, what is E.T.?
I don't know. I'm asking. You're here to teach me.
Okay, well, let's not go that far, but I'm trying. So we know that the grays, right? You got a little picture of a gray up there. Yep. The grays, in my opinion, and I've talked to other abductees, are suits. They're meat suits. They're avatars. What is working in that avatar? Because people that have seen them, they don't speak. There's no digestive system. They're crash retrievals. What are we looking at here? Ridley Strieber goes aboard the ship, opens up a drawer, and there are the grays stacked up like this. Other people see them stacked up like chairs. Other people see them hanging up on hooks, lifeless. So what are they? And I get this. We're going to go to the deep end of the pool. And I just didn't arrive here, overnight. This took a lot of years of reading and thinking and talking to people. They are avatars. The grays are avatars. And they are avatars for disembodied spirits of the Nephilim. The Nephilim are the progeny of fallen angels and human women, creating this hybrid being known as the Nephilim. Jesus warns us to be like the days of Noah when he returns. What differentiates the days of Noah? The Nephilim are there, which is the reason for the flood. That's why only 8 people. Why? Because this is the deal. And I know you don't know this because you read it twice, but you didn't understand what you were reading, just like me. just like many, many people who read the Genesis 3:15 narrative and have no idea what's being said. And the Genesis 3:15 Genesis, it's late. I'm exhausted.
No, it's okay.
It's a long day. Long day. The Genesis 3:15 narrative states this. Jesus is in the garden. Pre-incarnate Christ is in the garden. Adam and Eve have sided with the dragon. Adam and Eve are totally freaked out. They know they've done something. They're not sure what. Something has changed, radically changed. They're terrified. That's why they're hiding. So you get the pre-incarnate Christ comes in, looks at the dragon, looks at Adam and Eve, and he says to the dragon, this is the gateway to the Bible. This unlocks the whole Bible. Understand this, and the whole Bible goes like this. Don't understand it, and the Bible remains closed. And I'm not just, this is the truth. Thank you, Gary Stearman, who taught it to me. He says to the dragon, your seed, your offspring, the seed of the dragon, the offspring of the dragon will be at war with the offspring of the woman. It's a seed war between offspring. Then he continues, the offspring of the woman, the proto-evangelium, which means the Messiah, will crush the dragon's head. The dragon will bruise his heel. That's it. Understand that, have the proper interpretation, the proper exegesis, and the whole Bible just goes click, 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 and opens, because 3 chapters later, baby, Genesis 6. And if you don't understand Genesis 3:15, when we get to Genesis 6, we're left scratching our heads like I was 46 years ago. Who's this maniacal guy in the Old Testament wiping everybody out with a flood? Makes no sense unless you understand that it's a seed war. The seed war is happening. That's why the flood, because everything is contaminated. The fallen angels have come down and done what? They've contaminated the gene pool. So much so that unless those days were shortened, no flesh is going to survive. The Messiah will never be born of the woman, Jesus, thousands of years later, because the DNA is all corrupted with fallen angelic DNA. Bam. There it is, thousands of years after that, in my opinion. And our DNA study, you can ask Brian. Boy, it was great to see Brian. I haven't seen him in a long time. But, even that video, it's amazing how we've all gotten older.
I know. Right?
It's amazing. But when my hypothesis was these are Nephilim, therefore it's going to show a Middle Eastern, Black Sea, Eastern European haplogroup. And that's exactly what we found. Of course, the academics don't like that because it rewrites history, because these guys are not supposed to be in Peru. There's no stinking way, because it rewrites history. Understanding Genesis 3:15, that it's a seed war, then Genesis 6, the Nephilim are on the earth. Who are the Nephilim? The progeny of fallen angels, women of earth. Jesus, thousands of years after that, states this, that it will be like the days of Noah when I return. Everybody knows what he's talking about. I said this earlier, because the bones of the Nephilim are on display. They know what's going on. They know about the seed war. All that gets buried under churchianity. It's not taught. Most pastors have no idea what it is. Most of the people sitting in the pew have no idea about the seed war. So when Jesus warns us to be like the days of Noah, it just right over everybody's head. What does that mean? The seed war is going on now. Hybrids are walking amongst us. Modern day Nephilim. Hybrid beings are walking, title of Dr. David Jacobs' book, walking amongst us. They're here, they're walking amongst us. It's exactly like the days of Noah. Our film on abductions, thank you, Gil Zimmerman. We had 10 films on it together. And number 4 was on abductions. We sat down with 2 women and 2 men. All of them were taken multiple times. The women lost babies. They were pregnant. And then in the 3rd month, they're re-abducted and the baby is taken. And, when you look at Karen Wilkinson, we actually published her book, Stolen Seed, Evil Harvest. She was impregnated by them 3 different times. She was taken when she was 6 years old. She flew the ship. She was being groomed. She flew the ship. And that might sound weird, but Preston Dennett interviewed a woman by the name of Dolly who flew the ship. When they're that young, they have a guide, basically someone who's grooming them, which is what happened to Karen, which is what happened to Dolly. And Karen got out of it because she finally went back to her Christian roots, called on Jesus. Abduction stopped just like that. But they took 3 children from her. Hybrids are walking amongst us. Our interview with Al Matthews, sat down with a hybrid woman, eyes shape-shifted like this, turning like serpentine eyes. I mean, I'm not making this stuff up. So the days of Noah are now. Fallen angels, and you say, well, why do fallen angels need UFOs? Let me quote scripture to you, because it's all there, but it's hidden, and you read it twice. And this is thousands of years ago. It's from 2 Kings chapter 6. You can read it for yourself. So this prophet by the name of Elisha is there with his servant Gehazi. They are completely surrounded by the Syrian army. They are completely surrounded by the Syrian army. So Gehazi, the servant, goes, I'm being silly here. We're going to die. It's over. This is it. And, in the natural, it's their toast, okay? And Elisha says, Lord, open his eyes, and shoos Gehazi out of a tent. Gehazi looks around and sees his eyes are open, and he goes running back into the tent, and he says this, I looked up above the Syrian army, and I saw the chariots of fire. Okay, so thousands of years ago, the chariot is the apex mode of transportation.
Absolutely.
Fire is what we see by. With torchlight, candlelight, oil lamps, that's it. That's what it is. So thousands of years ago, he's looking at this. And they're above the Syrian army, flying around, chariots of fire, they're all lit up. And these are the good guys. Look, it's complex. This whole thing is very, very complex. I've been studying it, the whole UFO phenomena. We have 10 films on it. I've got books on it, the whole deal. I see this much of a picture, which is very, very complex. And it's also, I'm sure you've seen the movie Age of Disclosure. And I'm trying to get Dan Farah to come on my show. I can't even get an email answer from the guy. I'm sure he's up to here, with invites, and I get that. But what there's such a nefarious dynamic, there's a nefarious side to this whole thing. People are taken against their will. They are implanted. Richard Shaw, my former business partner, passed away a number of years ago. We took the implant out of patient number 17, Emil Jerk. I'm going to have lunch with them on the 2nd, just next week. I'm going to have lunch with Emil again. And just, how you doing? What's going on? We took the implant. He was taken when he was 5 years old. In our film on abductions, he's one of the guys. He looks right at the camera, And he goes, yeah, well, they used to find me out on my grandparents' lawn, so they locked me in at night. They locked the doors, put locks on the doors, locks on the windows. Next morning, there I was out on the back lawn, out on the lawn. Explain that to me. That's exactly where we are. Explain that to me. How are you going to explain that? Well, you can't. He was taken multiple times. We took the implant from him. It was made of meteor metal. There was no entrance wound where the implant was. When we tried to get the implant on an ultrasound machine with the wand going like this, trying to find the implant, 2 weeks earlier, we had been in the same room, same ultrasound machine, found it within 2 minutes. Now, can't find it. Hour and 20 minutes go by. And I get a little tapping from the Holy Spirit, Spirit of the living God. You need to pray and you need to take authority over this thing, which is what I did. Prayer was very simple. Lord, if there was forces blocking this device and cloaking it from us, break their power. All of a sudden, the implant comes up like this. Everybody goes, oh my gosh, what's that? That's the implant. And we took it out. That became Jeremy Corbell's film, Patient 17. But we paid, for the operation, Richard Shaw and I. Richard gave him some of our material to use in his film, which is fine. That's just the way the game is played. But we have a whole film on that. We were the ones that found Emil. And then later on in our film, Gil Zimmerman and I, we interviewed Emil years later. And it's there's a breeding program going on, which hails back to the Genesis 3:15 narrative. The seed of the dragon will be at war with the seed of the woman. This is exactly what we're seeing. This is why
Is there
you
okay, so we have the elephant in the room when we talk about this stuff. The universe is teeming with life. On those planets,
Is
are
it?
they I know that it is. I've seen it
No,
with my
no,
own
you
eyes.
don't.
Oh, I do.
How?
You want to
Have you
debate
been
that?
there?
You
Have
want
you
to
been there? Yeah, sure.
I think so. I think so. I think
Okay.
so. I think so.
Revelation, the book of Revelation states this, and it's a mind blower. It's Revelation 8:12, I think. It says a third of the stars lost their light. How does that happen? How? And well, that must be allegory, LA. No, it's not. It's literal. How does he switch off a third of the stars? What if we're in a holographic universe? What, Fermi's paradox. I know you know what Fermi's paradox is.
Of course.
Yeah, Fermi's paradox. Fermi's at lunch. He's kind of quipping, if the universe is so full of people and entities and inhabited by all these planets, where the heck is everybody? And that's the problem. We get these little cat and mouse deals with these nefarious entities abducting 5-year-old boys and girls, implanting them, doing sadistic medical experimentation and creating hybrids. No, not buying it for a second. Not for a second.
Oh, okay. So let me get back to my question.
Okay.
You just held up a craft, a saucer. Hold it back up.
I can't. It flew out of the room, Jim.
LA, I'm done with you, man. Okay. What the planet that came from? Do they have Jesus?
Well, see, here's the deal.
You know what I mean? Do they have they have the whole thing going on there?
What if it's not a planet? What if it's another dimension that we don't know about? And these gateways and these portals open and allow the craft to go through.
Could be.
Right?
And I agree with that. That's part of it. I don't think it's everything. There's too much life out there. When we look at just our
I know there's a billion, but what if we're in a holographic universe and it doesn't matter? It
could be.
You can have a gazillion. It doesn't matter.
I know. So if
nobody
it doesn't
knows. Jimmy, nobody knows.
Nobody knows. Nobody. That we can agree. And if it doesn't matter, then let's just party.
But that's the deal. But here's the deal. In Spielberg's movie, he's a genius filmmaker. I mean, he's the apex filmmaker of the 20th, 21st century. I mean, he is. Let's face it.
I agree.
Yeah, he's amazing. Absolutely amazing. So in his new movie, I've already looked at the trailer and I went scene by scene. I can dissect it scene by scene if you want, but I'll go skip to the chase, the point I'm trying to make. So he uses the iconic, he uses the Catholic Church as an umbrella. He couches the thing in Catholic terms. What do I mean by that? Jesus is there's a crucifix. He's still on the cross, number one. Number two, there are nuns. So the nuns are looking at the television of this reporter, weather woman, who at this point is possessed. So right off the bat, she's possessed. Now, you either get down and jiggy with that, or you can just go through it.
No, I think that's what is pretty clear.
Yeah, she's
been taken over. Yeah.
So the nuns are there, and the Mother Superior is seated in her chair, and behind her are all the other nuns with the rosaries going. So the whole thing is dressed up in Catholic clothes. Why? Because the Catholic Church has 1.3 billion followers. It's the largest religion on the planet. End of story. Largest Christian religion. And Christianity is the largest religion still on the planet, although Islam is a very close second. So 1.3 billion Catholics on the planet. So everything is dressed up in Catholic clothes and Catholic theology. Mother Superior, at the very end of the trailer, you hear her voice. You don't see her. What your eyes are riveted on is the little girl who was introduced right from the beginning of the trailer. And she is now walking with the big buck with the huge antlers. And next to her looks like a raccoon and maybe a rabbit or something. They're walking towards a house which is all lit up, man. The light is pouring. I would have loved to seen how they did that AI, but whatever. But it's every window, it's just exploding, this light exploding out of the house. And then you hear Mother Superior, this wise nun, this wise Mother Superior, right? Jump the gun. And she says, Surely with such a vast universe, God wouldn't have made us the only people. There it is. There's the paradigm, Jimmy, which I have railed against for decades. There it is. There it is. It's a straw man argument. And they use Mother Superior to introduce this. Oh, that sounds reasonable. Yeah, that's it. That's reasonable. But what if we're in a holographic universe? What if we're it? Biblical prophetic narrative states that the New Jerusalem comes here. Jesus returns here, not Zeta Reticuli. He comes here. And then it says that God Almighty, El Shaddai, will roll up the universe like a scroll, the heavens like a scroll. I mean, I'm not making this stuff up. You say, well, that's impossible. How's he going to do that? And I get that. Like, how does a guy walk on water or restore the eyes of a blind or stop, a storm with 2 words or feed 5,000 people with a boy's lunch? How's any of this possible? It's the supernatural world. And we see this much of a picture, which is this big.
Everything that you just said, and I have an open mind. I'm trying to figure this stuff out like everybody else. But when I start to put this kind of scene together, it comes apart for me. And the reason why it comes apart, I back off. This is my take. And I know you've heard it before from other people, but my take is there has to be something divine, something intelligent that put all of this together. Okay. When I get into the religious side of it, hard religion, and so many other religions on this planet, that it comes apart a little bit for me, where I just think that the vocabulary and the way of communicating this so many thousands of years ago was they did the best that they could do with the knowledge base that was there. Today, what I do realize is it wasn't luck. It wasn't chance. It's too complex. DNA is our brains and consciousness are too beautiful to be luck. And I'll take it once. So I think that there was an originator that goes back infinite amounts of time, so far back. But here is where it gets complicated for me. Asteroid Bennu, we went out to 4 years ago, scooped up a little thing, right? Brought it back to Earth 2 years ago, crash landed in the Utah desert, right? We analyzed, and this is the second time this has happened. It's not once, it's twice, where in that scoop of dirt from this asteroid contained the 20 basic sugars and amino acids that make up RNA. In one scoop of a random friggin' asteroid, right? Right? Just like, and then they found the 5 proteins that make up DNA. So now RNA, the precursor, the information that feeds into DNA, right? They got to work together for life, are found on a random asteroid surviving space. Proteins are the most complex thing that we know. It's the most complex. Mapping protein is difficult. It's difficult. It's a hugely difficult scientific process. It takes years and years and years and years to do it. But here it is just floating around. Now, who does that? I don't think that is just chemistry doing its thing out there in space on its own, creating. I don't. There's something else behind it. And I can't mix the religion side of it into it, but it's certainly not the pragmatic Richard Dawkins view of this. It's simply not that. There's something intelligent behind it, something divine, something maybe deeply spiritual. Yeah. That's my take. Come on. Come on. That's my take. And I don't LA, and I seriously mean this. I don't say these things to offend.
Oh,
No, not you. I mean, just everybody, right?
Right.
And any side of the fence. I don't do. It's just that I look at this from a very logical, objective point of view. It's not accident. It's not, and you can't attribute it to that. There's something else. What are the odds? What are the right? What are the odds of that happening by chance?
Well, to your point, if I take a box of Tinker Toys, okay,
Right.
I've got, and when I was a kid, that was my favorite toy to play with. Tinker Toys. They're just amazing, right? And I take that box of Tinker Toys and I just throw it on the ground, and it's just this heap of Tinker Toys. Okay, so all the material are there to make stuff, but I'm not touching it. I come back the next day, there's that pile of Tinker Toys. It's the same way, nothing's happened. Come back a week later, and there's that pile of Tinker Toys. Nothing has changed. It's just a pile of Tinker Toys. And then one day, a couple of weeks later, I decide I'm going to make something with the Tinker Toys. And I take the Tinker Toys and I create something. Well, just because you've got the building blocks from life doesn't mean you have life. Just because all the material is there to do it doesn't mean that the DNA is fashioned, because that's the hand of God. That's the finger of God. Everything was created by him and for him. He's before all things, and he holds all things together. He holds all things together. So this is really what it comes down to. We either believe the biblical prophetic narrative or we believe in Darwinism. I mean, that's it. There's no in between. Either all this just happened like random Tinker Toys on a floor, and somehow, they just decided to one day start connecting, or there's an outside agency who's existed before the Tinker Toys were even created and just went, I think I'm going to do this. And that's what he just did. And he did this. And from him, he spoke everything into existence. And I mean, this is what Jesus did when he was here. He spoke everything into existence. If you were blind, like I used that analogy before, receive your sight. He's speaking that into existence. He proved it could be done. He had mastery over all things in the physical, all things in the supernatural, all things in the natural. Complete mastery over everything.
But how do we one of my oldest friends, his name's Lane, just a beautiful person, very smart, audio guy, by the way, great musician, amazing. He's all about the Bible, right? And we were in New York, up late one night, 24-hour pizza joint, and we're having this discussion that you and I are having right now. And I said, okay, well, what about the dinosaurs? He's on that 6,000-year-old thing. I said, what about that? He said, God put those bones here to test our faith. Lane. Right. And so what do we do about that when we get into layers of soil and rock and these things that go back 400 million years?
Well, again,
what do we do with that?
They just keep adding zeros because they figure the more zeros they add, the more chances maybe this thing will just happen. So I'm not going to argue, the 400 million year thing. It's absurd. What we do know is that dinosaurs walked the earth. Why did he destroy them? When did they walk the earth? We don't know that. Depending on who you talk to, we don't know. I did a show. Actually, it's in our film, On the Trail of a Nephilim, the very first film. And there's a scientist who worked at UC. Well, I won't tell you where, but he's openly in the film. And he's out there and he finds a Triceratops out in Montana someplace. So he takes the horn and
I remember this in the film.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He finds live tissue. And he's immediately, kicked out of the college because your religion is coloring your science. Excuse me, no, this is what we found. So how does that work? Look, the origins of man, you keep going back to that, and that's great. The further you go back, the murkier it gets. I mean, it just does, and it just fades into this oblivion. And we can talk about it till the cows come home. We don't know. What we do know is that someone walked the earth 2,000 years ago, and he left his calling card. We have a whole film on this. He left his calling card, and there it is, the Shroud of Turin. And it's proof of the greatest event in all of history, the resurrection, fully God, fully man, Jesus of Nazareth. I mean, I'm not making this stuff up. How did this, and no one knows how the image appeared. They posit that a burst of light, radiation, something like that happened. And that's probably what happened, but we don't know. But it's there. It's there. And until Secunda Pia took the photograph, this is all you saw, which is why when he took, this is a headshot. So he takes the photograph, those big old wooden box cameras, and now he's in his darkroom developing the glass plate with the headshot. He almost drops the glass plate because this is what he sees.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's the craziest thing ever. I mean, and nobody knows, and by the way, the carbon-14 dating, we talked about that. And I actually interviewed Joe Marino, who was in some ways, he and his wife passed away, but they were instrumental in writing a paper that made the scientists go back and look where the C14 carbon-14 samples were taken from the shroud. And sure enough, they rewove fibers in there from the 15th century fire. The original protocol from the shroud, they were supposed to take 3 different samples from 3 different parts of the shroud. They didn't do that. They took one sample from the corner, and that, or the edge of the shroud, and that has been proven to be rewoven, which skewed the carbon-14 dating. I'm not making this up. Gil Zimmerman and I took about almost a year to create the film Holy Shroud, Holy Fire, which we do a deep dive into this whole thing. So that's why I keep, because it's physical evidence of the greatest event in all of history.
Why do you think, what's your opinion, I should say, on why the UFO and alien and ET subject is suddenly okay in the media and the Pentagon and Washington, D.C., where it's never been like this before? You've been at this for a long time, just like myself. Why this sudden crack in the door?
Well, I'll tell you, there's an agenda. There's absolutely an agenda. And that agenda, some of it is being pushed forward by those who want this exposed. When you here's something to think about, and I wrote about this in Rungs of Disclosure, okay? So if you have a nuclear device going off anywhere on the planet, it creates the greatest climate of fear that mankind has ever experienced together, collectively. Now, if you couldn't do this 125 years ago because nukes didn't exist, and the telecommunication system, satellite network that's global, what we're doing right now didn't exist 25 years ago. Didn't exist. You know it and I know it. Now it's here. Everybody's got a podcast. My cat's got a podcast, and I don't have a cat. So you have a nuke going off anywhere, it creates the greatest climate of fear. This is why the entities who are in these craft shut off the silos, right? We broke the story in our Watchers on that with Robert Salas years ago, Richard Shaw and I. 10 intercontinental ballistic missiles shut off like that. How is that possible? Manipulating space, time, matter, and energy. So you have a nuke go off, that creates the greatest climate of fear. That's when the space batteries show up. Mile-wide craft, right? Whatever it is, over the cities of the world. We seeded all life on this planet. We genetically manipulated early man. We started the world's civilizations. We started the world's religions. Now at this critical juncture in human history, we are back to usher mankind into a golden age. That's what they're going to say. And we are rapidly moving. See, there's two ways of looking at history. One is what Toynbee espouses. He's a major historian. History is cyclical, and he's right in some respects. Civilizations rise, civilizations fall. I get that, and I agree with them. However, there's another viewpoint here that is true. While that is true, at the same time, civilizations are rising and falling. There's a prophetic thread which goes through all of this, which tells us that history will be climactic and that we are rapidly ascending into the climax, which is where we are now. We are ascending into a climax, and that climax will be a one world government and a one world religious system. How do I know this? The biblical prophetic narrative states it very clearly. That's where it's going. That little implant that we took out years ago, is that the prototype to the mark of the beast? Very possible, because we took out an implant that was 40 years old. The implant before Emil, and I remember Dr. Lure telling us about this. He had to take it to a laboratory and cut it open with a laser beam. So there's an evolution of these things. Is that the mark of the beast that we read about in Scripture? You can't buy, sell, or trade without that mark. I mean, think about that. That thing's written 2,000 years ago. I mean, and this is why when people would read it, like in the 19th century, they'd go, it's got to be allegory because it makes no sense. How are you going to buy, sell, or trade without that's impossible. We're here. We're absolutely here. I'm in Peru. I stick my little credit card in and it spits out soluses. How much do you want, Mr. Marzulli, right? So
Right.
We're in a window of time. Men and women run to and fro over the face of the earth. Knowledge increases. That's another prophetic statement. So we're here. Jesus warns us, wars, rumors of wars, famines, pestilence, earthquakes in diverse places, troublesome times. We're here. We're absolutely here. The world is crazier right now than I have ever seen it in my 75 years of walking on this planet. It is bonkers on every single level you can imagine. And I know you agree with me. I don't care who's in the White House. Doesn't matter. I don't care whether you're a Democrat or Republican. Makes no difference to me at all. This thing is off the rails, man. And it's going further off the rails every day.
I read Mark of the Beast. I read it was a best-selling book back in the mid-'80s when I was going through my paradigm shift and all this stuff. So I'm reading this book, basically Christianity against Catholicism and the conspiracies between the two, right? Okay, so I'm reading this book, given to me from my dear Christian friend. But in that book, it stated that ATM cards were the mark of the beast. All right. So now here, and to hear you say that about the solas in Peru, I love that, that you said. But so I'm reading that and I remember scratching my head going, okay, well, it could be. All right. Wow. This feels weird. It's a interesting take because back in 1985, ATMs were rare.
Yeah. Okay.
It was a rare, but to have that in there, well, I'm not so sure. And I don't know, how do we take this stuff literally? I mean, I saw The Omen, right? It freaked me out, man. I was checking my hairline for tattoos. So what do we do with that when people come along? We were supposed to have the rapture last month. Remember that? Remember the whole rapture thing? Well, I was wondering who was going to be around the next day, and it just kind of came and went. So how much do we have to put into those that interpret stuff and present it to us? How much do we take seriously or none at all until it actually happens?
Well, we are the only Christian team ever to take out an implant, first of all, by someone who was abducted, and we took it out. So it's conjecture, and I always state this, it's conjecture on my part to state, could these be prototypes to the mark of the beast? And I'll tell you why I believe that. Because whoever is doing it, we know who's doing it, right? And those nefarious entities with the big black eyes and their overlords, they have spent an inordinate, that's tough for me to say tonight, an inordinate amount of time and energy
You got to
on,
know.
thank you, on creating these things. A lot of time and a lot of energy creating these things. And there's a progression. There's an evolution of them, because the one that we took out was the last implant, which was 40 years old. But the one right before that Dr. Lear removed, was very, very new. He had to cut it with a laser beam. So there's a progression. So what are these things? They don't run, we found this out too, they don't run off the circulatory system, they run off the nervous system. So something's going on. And this is why my biblical worldview clicks in. Could this be, underline, could this be the prototypes to the mark of the beast? What was written will come to pass. What is foretold is unfolding. Nobody knows the day of the rapture, okay? Nobody does. And here's something to think about. If anybody stands up and tells you it's, July 4th next year, run to the nearest exit. There's a lot of hooey out there. There's a lot of nonsense. There's a lot of people on TV begging for money and all this other crazy stuff. But what was written is true. But you've got to look at it through the whole lens of Scripture. You just can't cherry pick mark of the beast, cherry pick the day of the rapture. It says very specifically, no man knows the day or the hour. No man knows. So that's what I'm going with. Do I think we might be in the season where that could happen? Absolutely. Absolutely. Could we be in the season of the mark of the beast? Absolutely.
It's so funny to me now, but back then I was freaking out. Back in like 2008, that prophet, whatever, that had the buses with the date on it, and he was driving them around the country. Right. I know. And
George Norrie had me on, and I talked against that, and I said, "This is, run to the nearest."
Why would you do that? So I'm at, I was at LAX airport in that area, and I see like those 3 buses come by, and it's painted. So I look it up. Right, I'm on the internet. I'm like, "What's going on with?" And that. And then I read about his radio network and his radio show, and that this is the day. Well, the date came and went. Now I had sleepless nights, LA. I was freaking out. Well, the day came and went, and then so he did well, I got the math wrong.
Yeah, I know. So I know the whole story.
Yeah, no, I know you do.
But this is problematic, because one guy stands up, he gets all the press, and everybody just laughs. All those crazy Christians, look at the nonsense that they believe. So let me just give you something to hang your hat on. Jesus says there'll be wars and rumors of wars, famines, pestilence, earthquakes in diverse places, troublesome times. One of the spiritual bones he gives us is earthquakes in diverse places. That's 2,000 years ago. Wait a minute. He's giving us something here, because 2,000 years ago, if you lived in Japan and you had a 9.0 like you had, years ago, and the Fukushima reactor and stuff, and you live in the Middle East, you wouldn't know about it. Now we know about it. So earthquakes in diverse places, that's a huge signal, because now we can know about earthquakes in diverse places, right? That's a signal. That means and then the ultimate signal is this. And I always get a lot of flack when I talk about this. The nation of Israel and the Jewish people are God's prophetic timepiece. That doesn't mean we give them a pass. That doesn't mean we give the nation of Israel a pass. Is this a fair statement? Is every nation on this planet corrupt in some way? Yes or no?
Are you being serious?
I'm being serious. Because every nation
it's a stinky cesspool of corruption.
Stinky cesspool, right? So we don't give Israel a pass, because they're just as corrupt as any other nation. What we do say is this: prophecy written thousands of years ago, Amos 9, 14 and 15, fulfilled on May 14th, 1948. I will bring back the captives of my people Israel. They will build the waste cities and inhabit them. They will plant vineyards and drink the wine from them. They will also plant gardens and eat the fruit from them. Here's the kicker: I will plant them in their land. Never again will they be plucked up out of the land I have given them. If the Jews lose Israel, if they're plucked up out of a land, I will change my faith. but that ain't gonna happen. Never, not in a million years.
We're out of time, but I'm going to
I know.
ask. I'm going to ask. I got to get you back on. Let's continue this conversation. Well, you and I space things out too much. We shouldn't do that. We should do more shows together.
Sure.
But can't we? This is my logical side. Can't we take those statements and apply them to just about any timeline throughout history?
No,
because
the Jews were not back there for 2,000 years. They were completely byword. They were cast out. The pogroms in Russia, the Holocaust in Germany.
Right. So isn't all of that just craziness that could apply? And if you think about Rome and Herod and everything that was going on in Jerusalem,
it only applies to the Jewish people. They're God's. They are God's prophetic timepiece. They are back there. Never again will they be plucked up out of. They will look on him whom they have pierced. They, the nation of Israel, will look on him whom they have pierced and mourn for him as an only son. That's future. That will happen. What about?
But can't you apply? Okay, Israel wasn't created until 1947, but
1948.
40. Come on, don't bust my balls, man. Don't bust my balls. When we look at Fatima, that and World War II, World War I, and then of course what happened in World War II. Can't all of these? I have all those films. I have them. You know who I miss?
Who?
Richard Shaw.
Oh, we all do.
Man. He came up to my house and we had dinner, and he brought me everything that you guys have ever done. He brought me a big box full of stuff, and it was just incredible. But what? I mean, it's I realize
the 3-hour discussion because it was a UFO event. We have a picture that we published right there. What do you see right there?
I know.
What is that? Right?
I know.
What is that?
Well, and take it a step further. There were 10, 15, 17,000, and some the numbers have been 50,000 that all saw
70,000. 70,000 people
that all saw it, and to hear their descriptions about what was going on.
I saw a dull silver disc. What does that sound like? I saw
bouncing back and forth.
There it is, folks. Sorry.
Is that Jesus's chariot? Well, and why? Okay, one last question. I was watching a TV series last week. It was pretty funny. To check into this hotel, you had to get a room. You were one book of the Bible, and that was the question at the desk. What book are you? Right, that was the question, right? And so it was pretty funny to hear everybody's answers. But there was some funny moments in that where, wait a minute, Jesus is Jewish, but in the Jewish faith and in Catholic, and so in Christianity, we have these two opposing takes on what is going on. I married a Jewish woman. My daughter's Jewish. Okay, all right. I'm Catholic. I did it, man. I did it. And I would have this conversation with my family all the time. I wanted their opinions on what is going on. How do we explain that away with the Old Testament versus the New Testament and these two opposing views?
I have 3 minutes. You want me to answer that?
Well, we can go in overtime.
Okay, I'm exhausted.
Okay. 60 seconds. 60 seconds.
Let me see if I get this right. The New Testament is in the Old concealed. The Old Testament is in the New revealed. The New Testament is in the Old Testament concealed. The Old Testament is in the New Testament revealed.
I'm gonna trip on that all night. Thank you so much for that. LA, you're the best, man. You're the absolute best.
Have me back soon, will you?
You're the best. You're the absolute best. You got to come out here to Palmdale, man.
He's the best. I'd love to. I'll come out. We'll do lunch, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Love you, brother.
Love you
Enjoy
too.
the rest of your night.
God bless you. Take care.
Right back at you. L.A. Marzulli. Thank you, L.A. And so that wraps my week. Everybody have a great, safe, fun, amazing weekend. L.A. Marzulli, the absolute best, man. And one of the things, and I'll say this right now as we wrap this up, I enjoy open conversation. That's it. That's what you do. You learn and you just understand so much more about not only who you're talking to, but about everything else that's out there in the world. It's what I do. It's what I do. We need more. This show tonight, we need more of this. This is what the world is about, man. It's what the world is about. I had so much fun tonight. L.A. Marzulli. Everybody have a great, safe, fun, amazing weekend. I know I am. You know what I'm doing in the morning? Are you ready? You know what I'm doing to kick off my weekend? 9 o'clock tomorrow morning? Oral surgery. Yeah. So if you just think it's all fun and games in my world, no, I've got oral surgery at 9 a.m. So that's what I got to do. Everybody have a great, safe, fun, amazing weekend. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. You know what I've got right now? It's Go Beckley Tap. Fade to Black is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee Newman, and Michelle Freed. Special thanks to Bill, John, Dex, Jessica, Dennis, and Kevin. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music by Doug Aldrich. Intro, Space Boy. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2024 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Go Beckley Tappy.